Well, hey guys, and welcome to another vlog. And who'da thunk that my lazy ass would end up doing another vlog? But I've had some stuff on my mind for a little while that I wanted to talk about, compounding with some things that have happened recently in the world and whatnot. So I wanted to talk about some of this different stuff, and I think I'll start with the freshest of the topics, which is just on this day alone. This is April 21st, 2016. We lost Prince and Joni Lauer, also known as China, former WWE women's wrestler. And it was just one of those kind of days where I got up and I took my daughter to school and I had some breakfast and I get on Facebook and here comes the China stuff. That was reported earlier in the day. Prince's death came up later in the day and I was like, what is going on? Why are there always so many instances of somebody that, at least for me, is a big enough celebrity that has an impact on me that they died, and then another one dies in the same day? And recent people who passed away, Merle Haggard. We all know about David Bowie a few months back. Glenn Frey. Who else? I have to check. Yeah, Merle Haggard. Gary Shandling. That was another one that got to me because of his involvement with the X-Files and his friendship with David Duchovny. And then he died. We're going way back here. Glenn Frey, Alan Rickman, David Bowie, Scott Weiland. Yes, it gets back into last year a little bit, but still, I'm like, it's crazy. Okay, I know. People die. Celebrities die. Musicians die. Athletes die. Your family members die. I think what my issue with it is, and I'm only 41 years old, okay? And I know people would say, dude, you're not old. And I know I'm 2 years separated from being in my 30s, and I'm 12 years separated from being in my 20s. But I'm also 9 years separated from being in my 50s and 19 years from being in my 60s. And that's scary. And guess what? Time only goes one direction. I'm not going to go back to those younger days. I'm going to move forward into those older days. And when all these people that I know, celebrities, yes, I know, big deal, they're fucking celebrities, but when these people die, when anybody dies, it's not like it's something to freak out about and go crazy over. But for me, they're people who I enjoy what they've done. They're people that I enjoy music of, performances of, whatever. And when they're gone, they're gone. And it makes me think about my own mortality. It makes me think about all the stuff that I've done in my life or haven't done, all the stuff that I can do in my life, and all the stuff that I absolutely know I will not. And it makes me think about, my issues with depression and anxiety and happiness and all that kind of stuff, like the things in life that make me happy that you see behind me. Those are, barring a fire or a fucking tornado hitting my town again, are probably going to be with me until the day I die or until the day I decide to do something else with them. But there's a lot of other stuff out there that would make me happy that, I'm not even in the least bit attempting to attain. And no matter how many more years I have, and I hope I'm here till I'm 90, I hope I'm here till I'm 100, as long as my body still goes and my mind is still somewhat clear, I hope I go for a long, long time. But I know that I have got to start doing things in my life to harness the full true potential that I have to be happy and to have a complete life. So, not trying to be depressing or heavy or anything like that. These deaths are depressing and they make me sad. But I got to do what I got to do to make sure that I live my life to the maximum. And I just have to figure out the key to put in that lock and turn those cogs or whatever, and just get it done. Because, like I said, I've been thinking about it a lot here lately, the age thing. I was thinking about this silly thing of how every aspect of our life seems to kind of be separated into these 20-year chunks. Now, a lot of things change from when you're born to when you're 20, but it's still pretty much a contained period of time in your life when you go from being super dependent on a person or a couple of people, your family, your parents, whatever, to finally going out into life on your own. You'll go from being an infant to a toddler to a kid to a teen to the first few years usually of being out on your own or in college, being an adult. But all that is contained within that first 20 years or so of your life. That next 20 years of your life, from 20-ish till 40-ish, is usually relegated to finding that career or that thing that you're destined to do with your life, and usually finding that life partner and having kids, having a family or whatever, depending on if that's what you choose to do. But especially for heterosexual couples who want to reproduce and have kids that will be spawned from their DNA, they will mostly want to focus on it in that time period. It's not like you can't be 50 or 60 or 70 years old, 50 or 60, 70 years old and have kids of your own. But even like my point of view on it is I had my daughter when I was 31, I think, 31, and that was old enough. When she graduates from high school, presumably she does it like most people do around the time that she's 18, that'll be in 8 years and I'll be like 49 years old. That's not so bad. Being right around 50, getting to see my kid graduate and go out on her own into this world and choose what she's going to do. And I should, if I exercise and start doing better in certain things in my life, I should be around to see that and to see a lot more after that. I should hopefully be around to see my grandkids, and I might even get to see my grandkids grow up to get into around that age. If my daughter decided to have a kid when she was, let's say, 22, that would put me around 53. So 63, 73, those kids would be about 20 when I was 73. My dad's 72, and my daughter is 10. So, my dad got to see his granddaughter be to that age, and my dad's still around, so hopefully he's going to get to see for a lot longer than that. Anyway, I'm just sitting here thinking about that kind of stuff. You kind of aim for having your kids in that 20 to 40 year thing and not make yourself so old when you have kids that you don't get to see certain things from them and your grandkids. And then from 40 to 60, most people are kind of in that empty nest mode. They're still working, but the kids are out of the house. Maybe the midlife crisis has come along. Maybe that's what I'm experiencing now when my depression and anxiety pile up on top of me because of age and all that. And sadly, I've been thinking a whole lot about what's after all this. I don't really know anymore where I stand as far as God and an afterlife and all of that, sometimes I get really, really anxious, and I stress out when I think about the idea that when I die, perhaps there is nothing, and perhaps I wink out of existence. At that time, it won't matter. But thinking about it now, being aware of who I am and what I am, and thinking about a time when that will no longer exist, sometimes makes me dizzyingly like distraught, and possibly wrongly. Possibly I shouldn't be worrying about that so much, but I think about it. And then you get to the 60 to 80-year-old range, and people retire. Some people are in homes, which is sad. Some people are traveling the globe, which is awesome. Who knows which one of those you're going to get. But once you get to be that age, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like to be thinking at any time I could just pass away. Heart attack, stroke, whatever, die in my sleep. It's years down the road, but like I said before, it's where we're all heading. We're all moving every day closer and closer to that. God, I'm such a fucking bummer right now, but I've just been thinking about it way too much. And I think I want to finish this video off because my camera battery is getting low. I want to finish this video off talking about something. I think I've already done a whole video about it, but I'm going to mention it again. Oh, how I wish that I had the opportunity to live forever. I see so many people on YouTube, talk to them in person, celebrities, whatever, fictional characters, people who talk about how they would never want to live forever. Why would I want to live forever and see everybody that I love die, and watch my children grow up and die, and their children? Why would I want to see that? And why would I want to continue on and persist? While I can agree that if the opportunity arose and that happened, it would be kind of a selfish thing to do, if you were able to choose it. If it was just bestowed upon you, whatever. But if you could choose it, all these people say that they would turn it down. I would snatch it up so quickly. I feel like having the ability to live forever, for me, would loosen the constraints. Some of the stuff I was just talking about, some of the stress and worry about dying and all that kind of stuff. If I knew I was going to live forever, holy shit, I would be out there trying so many things. Because see, right now in my life, I like to play these games and watch these movies and do these little videos and stuff, because every day comes and it goes, and it comes and it goes, and time marches on until the inevitable, when the day when my life is going to be over. So I'm trying to sandwich in all these particular things that I enjoy and that I know I can take part in right now into as much time as I can. If I knew that these games, as long as my consoles wouldn't just fall apart from age, if I knew that I had all this extra time, oh my God, the video games that I could play. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I've got so many games. I could play games forever and watch movies forever and listen to music and read books and read comic books. And especially the important things, like go out into that world and find somebody to fall in love with. People say, well, but you're going to watch that person grow old and die. True. But as long as they lived to be like 80 or 90 years old and they had a long, fulfilling life, and death is what happens for them when it gets to that point, why would I have any problem seeing that happen? Anybody would agree, I'm sure, that if somebody that they loved died way before they should, the appropriate time, a long and healthy life, that sucks. But that can happen to any of us. If somebody lives out their life and they had a happy life and a warm, fulfilling life, and they go, then so be it. And I guess just for the sake of throwing it in there, if you did have the choice to live forever and they did choose to live forever, that's their choice. And if they chose not to, that's also their choice. So no complaint if I'm going to sit there and live forever and see this happen and they're going to die. Like I said, my point is just that I may be, whether I'm the only person or there's a lot of other people that get to live forever, it's not, I guess, I just feel like if other people live the way that it's supposed to, I guess now that I think about it, it does sound a little more douchey than I thought it did at first. And I don't want to sit here and play the game of, well, here's the stipulations to it. If I lived forever and I was the only person who lived forever, and that's just the way that it was, then I think you can see my point, that if somebody passes away and they live a long, healthy life and a fulfilling life, why would anybody who lives forever find any pain or despair in that? On the flip side, if they had the choice to live forever and they chose not to, why? Why worry about it? The only time it would really be hard for me as a person who was immortal and lived forever to see a loved one die is if it happened before their time, as in an accident or a disease, because everybody's time should be considered a good, healthy 80 or 90 years or whatever. The average may be less than that, but if you make it 80 or 90 years, that's pretty awesome. That should be considered your time. So if you died when you were 60 or 40 or 12, that's way before your time, and that's super sad. And that would hurt a guy like me. But if I found somebody and I fell in love and we were married and we lived and lived and lived until they died of old age, natural causes, yada, 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 that's the natural procession of life in the situation, the scenario that I've concocted. No, I would not feel sad from that. No, I wouldn't be like, every time I meet somebody, this is going to happen. How horrible. I'd feel more distraught over all the attempts at having a relationship with somebody if they fell apart, if I thought that it was true, deep love and that it was meant to be. That would cause more pain for me than someone living a long, healthy life and passing away when their time came. I hope that made some sense. And I'm going to cut this off here now. I've went on long enough between this and the video I did before it now. And if you have any thoughts on this, leave them in the comments. Like I said, sorry to be a bit of a bummer or a downer, but I needed to kind of express those thoughts that were in my head, and now I did. Maybe the vlogs will come back more often, or maybe the vlogs will just come back whenever I need to talk about something like this. Who knows? Anyway, we'll see you next time.